surgery, obstetrics and gynecology, child health, urology, psychiatry or mental health, and eye care. Additionally, we offer comprehensive medical diagnostic service encompassing endoscopy, medical laboratory services, x-rays and scans, a 24-hour pharmacy that ensures you'll always receive efficacious, safe and affordable medicines. We bring to you the most powerful medicine of all, simple human kindness and empathy. We take pride in holding ourselves to the highest attainable standards. Good thing is, we also accept all forms of payment, including from private health insurance companies. Locate Medicas Hospital on number 10 Quinto Street near Achaliboche School Junction. You can call us on 0501 477 340 or reach us on social media at Medicas GH. Medicas Hospital, a place of healing. And today, the doctor brings the healing to the studio. Dr. Yaw Osafo is the CEO of Medicas Hospital. He's here. Hello, Doc.
Kwame.
How are you doing?
Lexis Bill.
Yes, sir.
Best voice on radio in the afternoon.
You're the man. So earlier this week, I saw pictures of your all-new theater. Your operating theater.
Yes.
Is it supposed to look that good?
Ah.
I was like, wait, is the operating theater supposed to look that good?
Oh yes, it's fantastic.
Wow.
What we've been able to put together there, and I could. I've had surgery twice in my life, and I guess I'm coming to person could be.
So you know what
stuff.
surprised me more is the fact that, and I think that maybe it's because of advanced technology. Because in my mind, the surgery theater was supposed to look very cumbersome, and with very huge machines here. This, like, you know what I mean? Look busy, but this place looked so cute, so free. Very little machines here and there, and they looked like some very.
There's a lot of miniaturization in healthcare now.
Wow.
So I think we all know about the mobile phone, for example. It used to be of a certain size, and even gadgets are getting smaller, functionally better. You know, the lighting system over there. So to deliver quality, you need a combination of the human resource, skilled human resource that goes with the equipment that they need to work. So surgery is one of those disciplines that we are very, very strong, or it's one of our strong areas. So whether it's obs and gynae, we know about people with fibroids, infertility issues, or childbirth, and then requiring surgery, the hernias, repair thyroid surgeries, all those things are surgical disciplines. But Dr. Amkra has also been here. We got one of our colleagues come in the studio to also talk about the body contour,
plastic surgery.
Yes, plastic surgery, plastic and reconstructive surgery.
All those processes happen in that
theater. In that theater's suite. And Kwame, you saw there are two ORs, two operating rooms. So the surgical suite has two operating rooms. You know, so depending on what needs to be done, even eye surgeries will happen in that particular space. So we're very happy about what we've been able to put on offer to add to what is possible in Ghana. And
what I really like about the Medicas facility is the fact that you can literally do almost everything in one place, from your scans to, like you're saying, the surgical operations. And laboratory services.
Very, very extensive panel of investigations, and we also have external partners who are ready, to take our samples and also run for those that we do not have. So, the whole idea was that, we want a one-stop service, multidisciplinary service, operating under one roof. And I'm very happy, for example, about our eye service and the optical service. Wonderful.
Well, today we're going to talk about childhood cancers. And that's because last month was a month dedicated to childhood cancers.
Yes, September is always set aside to commemorate awareness, or childhood cancer awareness. And most of the time when we talk about cancer, everybody forgets the child. You know, and I was happy last year. Philip came back from a trip, a philanthropic trip to Kolebu, and then he came back and he was so shocked by what he saw. He couldn't just wrap his mind around the fact that there were children who unfortunately have been diagnosed with cancer, undergoing very, very difficult treatment, but most of them bore their pain with great dignity. And he asked me one question that got me. He was like, how is it, what have the children done? I was like, what have the children done? He said, how does a child get cancer? So it's one of those things that we don't really talk about often. And today we decided that, okay, why don't we shine a bit of focus on that to also contribute to awareness creation.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So
let's hear about it.
Right. So Kwame, let me start off by briefly touching on cancer. So it's a word that is bandied about. We talk about it often. We use it. Oh, my mother had cancer. This person has cancer. Cancer is on the rise. But so what is cancer? Cancer is a generic term. It's an umbrella term for a group of diseases that can affect any part of the body. There are other terms that sometimes are used. You would hear about malignancy. So Kwame, anytime you hear that term malignancy being used, well, we're talking about cancer. One of the defining features of cancer is the rapid creation of abnormal cells. So in simple terms, I tell people that cancer is the proliferation, all right, of abnormal cells. So Kwame, our cells multiply, and that's how we grow. So you've got one cell, the sperm meeting up with the egg, and then you form this structure. Then it's going to divide. One will divide into two will divide into four becomes 8 becomes 16 becomes 32 becomes 64 becomes 128, and so on and so forth. So that multiplication is something that happens with normal growth and development. So long as the cells are normal, no problem. But so long as, or at any point when some form of abnormality is introduced into the cell during that whole division and multiplication process, then we will apply the term cancerous cells. So every cell has a certain function, has a structure, has a set of what we call organelles, structures within it that determine its function. So anytime there's a deviation from that, then we would say the cells have become abnormal. And once these abnormal cells are growing rapidly and they grow beyond their usual boundaries, and then they can invade adjoining parts of the body and even spread to distant organs. So that abnormality growth may start in the large intestine. Then Kwame, you find some of these abnormal cells in the liver. So the liver then anatomically is distant from the large intestine. So this is, in summary, what cancer is all about.
I see.
Now let's look at the scale of the problem. Is cancer a problem? So Kwame, let me give you some global figures. Each year, an estimated 400,000 children and adolescents between day of birth to 19 years develop cancer. 400,000 children and adolescents will develop cancer. In Ghana, it is estimated that about 1,200 children under the age of 15 are estimated to develop cancer annually.
Oh, that's serious.
That is a big deal. That is a big deal. That's a huge number. The incidence is higher in male children compared to females. So I looked at this study that looked at the incidence of cancers between 2015 and 2019 in this country, and you have male children dominating compared to female children. And usually two children are aged between day of birth up to 4 years. The incidence of cancer was higher in that age group.
Was there a reason, and why that early?
No, it's we're still struggling to, and I'll talk about that in a bit, the etiology, the causes of childhood cancer in particular. Then we're still limited. A lot of it is genetic, but I'll talk about that in a bit. But this is just to look at the distribution of it, so that people don't just forget and think that, oh no, my child is 2 years, cancer is far away. It's not something that I would ever think about. I'll think about some diarrhea and malaria and things like that. Okay. And region by region, it was the Greater Accra region that recorded the highest numbers, and this is what the study showed. In Ghana, the most common types of childhood cancers found are something we call Beckett's lymphoma. All right, so the lymphoma is some form of bone marrow cancer, often found in the jaw region. So Kwame, you see that the affected children have a markedly swollen jaw on one side. There's a condition called Jemrikutu. Kwame, you ever heard of that?
I've heard of it.
Right, it's mumps parotitis. So when you have the mumps virus invading the parotid gland, which is one of the salivary glands just above the angle of your jaw, when you eat an orange, maybe the first time you bite into it, it probably stings as a part of your face, or that part of it. That's exactly where the salivary gland is. It's been stimulated by that juice. So sometimes you get a mumps infection of the parotid gland and it gets swollen. That's not what we are talking about, but sometimes that is how it starts. So that gives you a disproportionately swollen face, and most people would forget that mumps may not be mumps, but it may be the beginning stages of something we call Beckett's lymphoma. So that is bone marrow cancer, often found in the jaw. Then there's another thing we find in Ghana amongst children. It's called Wilms tumor. Wilms tumor. So the Wilms tumor is cancer of the kidney. In simple terms, it affects the kidney. So we've talked about the Beckett's lymphoma, then we've talked about the kidney one called the Wilms tumor. Then we have something we call a retinoblastoma. The retina is the image plate of the eye. So that's where images are formed. And sometimes you've got cancer that can affect that. And then we also have the last one called ALL, or some form of leukemia that affect children. So these are the four commonest childhood cancers that we come across in our part of the world. But Kwame, there's some good news. Unlike adult cancers, 8 out of 10 children diagnosed with cancer will survive the disease if it is detected early and access to treatment and care are available. 8 out of 10 will survive the disease with early detection and access to treatment. Sadly, in Ghana, only 20% of children diagnosed with cancer survive.
Wow.
Yes.
Those are some damning statistics.
Right. So and it's so that tells us that we're doing late detection, and we are not, a lot of them are also having access to treatment and continuing the treatment.
Okay.
So comparatively, we do better. I think about 42% of children diagnosed with cancer are on treatment, compared to the continent statistic of about 30%. We do about 42%. But if you compare it to the high-income countries, they're doing 85% plus. So then we have a bit of difficulty in that regard. Right. Now, Kwame, let me talk briefly about the causes of childhood cancer. Do we know why children have cancer? And that was a question that Philip put to me and said, what have these children done? Right. But unlike adult cancers, when it comes to childhood cancers, we do not have known causes for a lot of them. We still don't quite understand, because the child was just born. So some of the things that are risk factors in adults, like say exposure to environmental toxins, all right, whether it's let's say radiation, for somebody who's been working in an X-ray unit without the adequate protections, they may then develop one cancer or another. There may be sexually transmitted infections that predispose them to developing that. I mean, we talk about cervical cancer and the role played by human papilloma virus. There's also HIV virus. Then there's also hepatitis B virus in hepatocellular carcinoma. But in children, then all these things don't apply, because they have not lived long enough for them to be exposed to any of these, environmental things. So let's talk about the role we think genes play in the development of cancers. So there's something we call DNA, all right? And the DNA is a chemical that makes up our genes. And the genes are found in chromosomes, all right? And the genes control everything that we do. So Kwame, there are genes that determine your height, they determine the size of your nose, they determine the color of your eyes, your hair, and so on and so forth. But there are also genes that control when our cells grow, when our cells divide into new cells, how our cells fix themselves, repair, and then even how our cells die. In cell biology, there's something we call programmed cell death. So Kwame, your body cells, from the little biology we learned in primary school, we know we are made up of cells, and a group of cells will make up tissues, a group of tissues will make up an organ, and then groups of organs will make up an organ system, and then the organ system will make up the human being.
We learned that.
Kwame.
Sorry.
Refi. We didn't need blasters. Those people, okay, you let's talk about childhood cancers. So these genes control the way our cells behave. So Kwame, your cells are programmed to live a certain number of days and then they die. So imagine if that program is faulty. Now my son Kofi is learning coding. This guy, he thinks he can program everything. I got to be programming the way I treat him in the house. But I'm amazed at the way they write programs and you tell the computer what you want it to do.
Yeah.
Think about genes that way. They contain, they are the source codes, and they contain instructions to tell your cells what to do. So if your cell is supposed to live up to a certain number of days and then die, to be replaced by another, and Kwame, it doesn't die, that new one would come, and then that old one becomes faulty, or it continues to multiply. Imagine your hand, your nails, the cells that form up your fingernails, they continue to grow and they never stop. Just imagine what is going to happen. So sometimes cancer is caused by changes that occur in our DNA, that chemical that make up the genes. All right, certain mutations, and these changes, we call them mutations, happen to the DNA, and it can affect the kinds of genes that you produce. The result of the DNA changes that happen early in the child's life, sometimes even before birth, sometimes it can happen. And every time the cell is dividing, I talked about that division.
Yeah.
2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16. Every time the cell is dividing, something can go wrong. The process isn't perfect, and errors sometimes occur, especially when the cells are growing quickly. And when do cells grow very quickly? During childhood and during the adolescent period. That's when they tend to grow quickly. So then that process then becomes faulty, and this is what we call cell mutation or gene mutations.
Oh, I see.
Right. So Kwame, let me share a few guides that we call them early warning signs, for parents and guardians, and even children themselves. So we have this acronym that we say Saint Siluan, Siluan, Siluan. So S stands for seek medical help early for persistent symptoms. Every day your child is complaining to you that I have abdominal pain. Don't just brush it aside. Something really might be happening. Seek medical help for persistent symptoms. I have headaches. Mommy, my eye. Don't just say you every day you don't want to go to school, so you complain about eye. They may be developing a retinoblastoma. Abdomen, they may be developing either a lymphoma, or they may even be developing a Wilms tumor. So that's what the S stands for. Eye. So there's a white spot in the eye. So when you take a photo, especially in the EVU, sometimes you see that we get this red spot in the eye.
Right.
Yes, that's supposed to be there all the time. It is because of the anatomy of the eye. That's what comes. Unfortunately, sometimes for children, you see a white spot. If you see a white spot, please go and see a doctor. The likelihood of it being a retinoblastoma is high, which is one of the eye cancers that can affect the back of the eye. L is for a lump. Lumps in the abdomen and the pelvis, lumps on the neck and head of the child, lumps found on the limbs, lumps found in the scrotum and other places around the jaw. So Kwame, I encourage parents, once in a while, I know we are all very busy, with our life, but once in a while, try and bath your own children. Don't leave it for the help or another person, because as you bath your child, then you may find a lump, and if you find any lump on their neck, on the head, in their groin, please get it checked out. U stands for unexplained prolonged fever over 2 weeks. Hey doctor, fever means elevated body temperature. Please seek medical attention. Unexplained weight loss. Please seek medical attention. Your child's palms are pale. The fingernail beds are also pale. They are no longer pink. Please seek medical attention. Unexplained easy bruising or bleeding. So don't take it for granted. Oh, the child went to say, oh, mommy, I fell. That's why, I am bruised. What kind of fall produce such extensive bruising? It means they are bleeding into the skin, and it may be a sign of one of these leukemias or a lymphoma. So that is the U. The A is aching bones, aching joints, back, and then easy fractures, what we call pathological fractures. And then lastly, they may have some neurological signs. The N is for neurological signs. What do I mean? Nerve-related things, such that it changes the way they walk. So your child has a gait. You must know how your child walks. If you see an abnormality in the gait, please let it be an early warning sign. If they have problems with balance, if they have problem with speech, you think the speech is a little slurred, if there's a regression of milestones, and I think we've discussed milestones here, the time you expect the child to be able to say ma, da, to monosyllabic words and so on and so forth, then you expect them to be able to do all of those things. Any regression in all of those things should draw your attention. So these are the early warning signs. We call them the Saint Siluan signs.
These are very helpful, and I'm very sure our parents who are listening are taking notes, and they would actually take note of all of these things that you're sharing. It's really helpful. I'm grateful that you shared this. Now, for those who would want to probably reach out to you for more explanation, or maybe they've probably seen some of these signs and they want to get it checked out, how can they reach you?
Right. So again, children are very, very important. Bring them out to come and see us at the pediatric unit at Medicas Hospital. The number is 0501 477 340. 0501 477 340. That's our WhatsApp number as well. But before we go, it's the birthday of my aunt, maternal aunt. Ifua Dakwa Apia, also known as Charlene Apples. That's her pen name. She's a published author.
Charlene Apples. Okay. Well, happy birthday, Charlene. Apples. We'll come pluck some apples then. Thank you, Doc. Great having you. And regards to the team at Medicas, yeah?
Thanks for having me.
Dr.
See you
Yaw
next week.
Osafo is the CEO of Medicas Hospital.